Very happy to be with you guys. I will share my screen. Can you see it? Is it working?
Yes, we can see, absolutely. Yeah.
Great. So let me share our view at EDF on innovation, because as you may know, as you can see here, I'm the Chief Innovation Officer for the EDF group. And our motto is we want to open up the range of opportunities to reach net zero faster. But first, maybe a few words in a nutshell about EDF, because some of you may not be totally familiar with EDF. And in a nutshell, EDF is the world's leading producer of net zero electricity. As you can see on this slide, our total electricity output in 23 was 467 terawatt hours. It's like approximately 1/4 of the total electricity generation in India, I'm told, and it's maybe the most important figure on this slide, with more than 93% of this electricity is carbon-free, thanks to our generation mix, of course, with both nuclear and renewable. And by renewable, I mean hydro, wind, and solar. We operate across 4 major geographic markets, and we have a multi-business international presence spanning nearly 30 countries now worldwide. And we proudly employ a total workforce of 180,000 employees globally. In France, we are the incumbent electric utility, serving with both residential and business customers, while running a very large fleet of nuclear and hydropower generation assets. But we are also quite a big player in the European market, like, for example, in Belgium, in Italy, in the United Kingdom. We operate through the EDF UK brand. In Italy, we are called Edison. We are called Luminous in Belgium, and our subsidiary own and operate a portfolio of power plants, and we are really a major player in the electricity retail markets in Europe. But outside Europe, we maintain an international footprint focused on project development, plant operations, and energy trading activities in key growth markets around the world, and we are very keen on working with our Indian partners. Just a few key figures. I won't comment all the figures on this slide, but I think this highlights our operational scale and our leadership in low carbon electricity generation worldwide. Operationally, we are serving 40 million customer sites globally, and I already mentioned the electricity output previously. Our sales are around 140 billion euros a year, and our EBITDA tops 40 billion euros in 23. We invest a lot. We invest a lot globally. Our net investment amounted to nearly 20 billion euros in 23, and we project to go to 25 billion euros a year in the foreseeable future. And 95% of those investments are made in accordance with our carbon neutrality targets. That's really important to us, as you will see in the next slide. And a key highlight is our position as the world leader in low carbon electricity generation. Our overall carbon intensity was a low 37 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hours. Just for comparison's sake, it's 251 in Europe and 700 in India. So it makes us the first producer worldwide of zero direct CO2 emission electricity. And notably, recently, like it was in June, I think, Moody's validated our trajectory as in line with limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees, in line with the Paris Agreement, of course. So the EDF Group, as you understand, is fully committed to building a net zero energy future. So it shouldn't come as a surprise if you follow the previous slide, but it's in our purpose. It's in our raison d'être, as we say in French. We want to build a net zero energy future with electricity and innovative solutions and services to help save the planet and drive well-being and economic development. This is not a statement, or it's not only a statement, it is written in our bylaws. It was voted by our General Assembly. And we think we are one of the few companies able to address this problem on a wide spectrum of action, because we can do it from upstream at the level of energy generation to downstream, as close as possible to the uses of our different clients. And innovation is a key lever of our corporate strategy. The world is transforming, the world is constantly changing. Of course, we all know that. And of course, we have to change the way we conduct our business to remain this worldwide leader in 2050. And that's why we organize our group to manage innovation through a synergy, leveraging synergies between our business units. And at EDF, our business units are naturally in charge of their everyday incremental innovation, because they know their customers, they know their factories, they know how to iteratively innovate every day, and that's their job. We have a really great EDF R&D arm, our EDF Labs. It's really a unique world-renowned technical and scientific expertise. We have nearly 2,000 experts really globally working on those topics. And we have an innovation division, which I'm leading. And our mission is to project the EDF Group into new activities, into new businesses. And that's really important, because we don't want to do what we could call an innovation theater, just to show the world how innovation is important for the group, but we want to create new businesses. We want to develop EDF through innovation. And that's why we developed this common strategic framework for innovation, to really determine what are our priorities within the group, what we want to develop through innovation. The first one is quite obvious, I think. It's about supporting our customers to reduce their carbon footprint. We're offering integrated solutions for decarbonization, energy efficiency across all sectors, and we want to make them simple and cost effective, because we think that when it's simple and cost effective, it will make a real difference in the market. The second one is about generating more low carbon electricity with nuclear and renewable. And of course, it is crucial because we're seeing a growing demand for electricity. And of course, it is true in Europe, but it is very true globally. The third one is about developing flexibility solutions to meet the needs of the electric system, because our goal is to achieve a 100% decarbonized energy mix at all times. Of course, as you may know, this is quite difficult to achieve, even as the electrical system undergoes major changes. Fourth one is about developing networks to meet those challenges, the challenges of the energy transition. And this means supporting the growth of this decentralized production and new electricity uses, like, for example, charging stations for electric vehicles. And the fifth is a bit different, quite different. We want to acknowledge, and we acknowledge, that we need to adapt to a constantly changing world, because as a company, if you cannot adapt, you will die. Of course, we all know that. So we are constantly looking at emerging trends in society, monitoring game changers, and launching innovation projects that could be at first quite far from the core business, but are actually a way to keep understanding the markets. So we have this common framework, strategic framework for innovation, but we also have a common framework to measure the value created by innovation. And that's really crucial. That's crucial for several reasons. First, because we need justification of investments to help justify the resources and capital allocated to innovation initiative, to guide the distribution of resources to high-value innovation activities. We need to measure, of course, what we do and the impact of what we do. Of course, also to enter a continuous improvement loop to support iterative refinement of innovation process and to do cultural reinforcements. Culture is strategy for breakfast, and we all know we want to foster a culture of accountability and a result-oriented culture when we're talking about innovation. So there's three main dimensions. Of course, the first one is the business dimensions. Innovation helps to create more economic value for the organization. And this could involve like developing new products, new services, improving operational efficiencies, finding new revenue streams, you name it. The second one is about the strategy, strategic dimension. Innovation should allow companies to get the best possible view of the future, to make well-informed decisions. And this involves anticipating market trends, understanding emerging technologies, positioning the company for long-term success, etc. And the third one is about the brand. And that's quite important, actually, because innovation helps strengthen the brand impact in the market. It can lead, of course, to improve brand perception, increase the customer loyalty, but it's also about reputation. And reputation is key to really recruit the best talents and to keep them in the long run. We built a few in-house programs. We call them the EDF Pulse programs. They play really a vital role in supporting our group's innovation activity, and they all provide specialized expertise throughout the group in several key areas. Here you can find, for example, Pulse Design. The idea of the Pulse Design is to open new pathways for the group by exploring future uses through prototyping, data visualization, etc. We do ideation to leverage specific methods to think out of the box, like the CK, the concept knowledge method, for example, to challenge new business models for some our offers or services. We have an open innovation program to identify startups with solutions that accelerate decarbonization and help drive the business of tomorrow. We incubate projects from intrapreneurs to support employees who want to develop high-value innovative activities within the group. We do ventures, and I will come back to this in the next slide, to support the growth of startups through direct investment or venture capital funds. But we do lots of activities to support the innovation. And if I focus on investment, we are investing a lot in carbon neutrality, and this is mainly done through EDF Pulse Venture. The mission of our venture corporate venture arm is to identify new activities and innovative solutions outside of the group in order to develop the investment portfolio held by what we call EDF Pulse Holding. So we want to support startups that can add value to EDF on adjacent market, or really new ideas, new solutions that we want to keep an eye on, that we want to bring in our portfolio. We invested around 500 million euros to date. We have 21 startups in our portfolio. We aim to do like 4 to 5 new what we call external investment each year, because we are also investing in our own spin-offs. And we partner with 16 funds to date. And maybe you could ask what's in it for the EDF group. It's pretty basic, actually, pretty simple. It's about innovating faster while limiting risks. Faster because we are a big company, we are great, but maybe sometimes a bit slower than more nimble businesses like startups, of course. So working with startups can lead to faster innovation, and it limits risk, because for a small ticket, we can access this talent pool in the market to develop those new approach, the new services, new offers. So of course, through venture, we create value, and we hope to generate value for the group by those investments. Of course, we aim to meet business needs, and that's very important. We only invest, those are strategic investments. We only invest in startups that create synergies, that can create synergies between them and our businesses. So this is not pure investment. Those are really strategic investments. The idea is to increase agility, as I said before, and we like and we love to share information with them. The idea is to provide our expertise to them. I mentioned, for example, our EDF R&D expertise before, and of course we benefit from the market experience in return. So this is, of course, a win-win situation. I won't have the time to really develop our portfolio, but those are quite a few examples of the startups we spun off or we are invested in. Those startups you see on the screen are spin-offs of the EDF group. So we created these startups from intrapreneurs' ideas, so from ideas that came from EDF people. And those are, I must say, quite successful. And as you can see, they are all over the map, if I may say that. They are working on AI-powered platforms for anomaly detection and diagnostic in the industrial processes. We have a hydrogen company called Dynamics. Through Exion, we provide IT solutions and very secure, sovereign, low-carbon infrastructure and solutions for IT needs, including blockchain solutions. But we have lots of really testing new ideas on the market, and those companies illustrate these ideas. And this is the current portfolio of EDF Pulse Ventures. So those are external startups that we invested in. And as you can see, they are all working across the low carbon spectrum, but some are working like Spotter, for example, on automated building inspection solutions. We invested quite recently, actually, in a UK company doing carbon credit evaluation and rating services. Or you may be familiar with Persephone, which is one of the leading US SaaS platform for measuring and managing carbon footprint. So we recently also invested, will be my last example, in Switch Energy, which is a generation solution for electricity production from osmotic energy. It's a quite hot startup actually in France these days. So of course you can find more detailed information on our website, and I don't have the time to develop on those, but this is the portfolio we currently have. We also partners with some leading international innovation funds. You can see here DBL Partners, which is quite known. EIP also, it's quite known. Those are both US-based funds. EIP is also based in Europe. And Higher 24, which is a big hydrogen fund in Europe, Eurazeo, etc. Thank you. I will just finish with this slide. Maybe you had the opportunity to see a bit of the Paris 24 Olympic Games, maybe on TV, or for the luckiest, maybe in Paris this summer. And this is a picture of the cauldron of Paris 24. And I wanted to end with this slide because we designed EDF. The EDF Pulse design actually designed the electric flame. You can see here the cauldron of Paris 24 is an EDF design. It's a flame without fuel, made of water and light, and doesn't burn, but it illuminates. And it's an EDF premiere with its flame ring. We really wanted to put the climate front and center during these games, and it's, I think, already making its mark on the history of the Paris 24 Olympics. So we're quite proud of this cauldron. Thank you.
Right. So, yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, Alistair, the question from yourself, we'll have a lot of questions, but we'll take one or two before we move on to Neeraj, is my thinking, if that's okay, Neeraj?
Okay, Julien, thank you very, very much. And again, I think, excuse me, I think everyone would agree that the wonderful Olympic flame has been a fantastic example of innovation coming out of EDF in the nicest and most sort of visible formats. My question's about solar. The Economist, as I'm sure you perhaps saw back in June, excuse me, had a very what I'd like to call sort of optimistic perspective on the future of solar. And more specifically, actually sort of wrote, what I've included in my question, that it's going to become increasingly dominant, not just in generation of electricity, but just in terms of overall energy, source, which of course, solar being solar, will come via electricity, but perhaps not necessarily if we include the sort of the thermal solar mirror sort of technologies that sort of direct solar to heat. But whatever way you classify it, I think it's a pretty bold statement, and was just curious, of course, to hear your view as to whether you agree with the Economist.
Well, I would say that we partially agree. We really think that, of course, solar energy will play a bigger role, of course, and a very big role in the electrification and in electricity generation. But we don't see it being the major or the largest source of electricity in 2040, as you wrote in your question, for two reasons. Because we think that there will be a growing market for the 24/7 carbon-free energy demand, and mainly driven by the big digital companies, the GAFAMs, and they ask for a base load, a 24/7 carbon-free energy base load. And I mean, we can all hope that battery technologies will get better in the next few decades. But for the time being, the only solutions we are envisioning to provide this kind of 24/7 carbon-free energy is mostly nuclear, because you need, of course, to have a base load that's fully decarbonized. And if you ask Google, Microsoft, Facebook, AWS, etc., they are trying to find solutions to just get this carbon-free energy, electricity on a 24/7 basis, and they are all looking at nuclear solutions. So and it will be, by the way, we envision that data center consumption of electricity in 2014 will amount to probably more than 10% of the overall electricity consumption in the world in 2040. So this will be really a key issue to address. So we really think that solar will be a dominant way to generate energy. Will it be the largest? We don't think so yet, but it's very, very difficult to make predictions, because, of course, you have to see as a system. So will we have new battery systems to provide more flexibility to the electricity system? Will the energy mix, and the key here is peak oil, when will peak oil happen? We all have ideas about that, but that's not a sure thing, actually. So all those questions, of course, are open today. So I won't make a prediction.
But would it be fair to say that EDF has a policy of technology indifference, and that your ultimate goal, as stated, is carbon-free electricity
Oh
wherever
yeah,
it
absolutely.
comes from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's really what we aim for. It's carbon-free energy, the best carbon-free energy at the lowest cost. And it, of course, also depends on geographies because each geography has its own challenges. So, yeah, of course, we are totally technologically agnostic.
So if there was, for example, a major breakthrough in energy storage technology, whether it's through batteries or gravity systems or whatever, hydrogen, clearly, of course, there's a lot of storage technologies, being developed. You might revise your investment, long-term investments as a function of that.
Of course, and we are always considering what will be what we call game changers in the market, and so we are always monitoring those kind of technology where the market is heading. And no, so really, absolutely, we are very keen to revise our investment strategy. But for the time being, we are mostly investing, of course, in renewable like solar and nuclear because there's a real demand for nuclear throughout Europe and throughout the world, actually. And when I talk about nuclear, to be perfectly clear, I also think about SMRs, and there's a great demand for SMRs. For example, in the US, the US will be the biggest SMR market by 2030. So it's like tomorrow.
The small modular reactor.
Yeah, sorry, so the small modular reactors. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Julien.
You're on mute, Venkat.
Venkat, you're on mute.
Sorry for that. Yeah, now I guess it's better. Yeah, thank you so much again, Julia. And then nuclear space and the innovation space, very fascinating. And then we will request Neeraj, if you can kindly share your screen. And Baker Hughes is, again, a very complementary and a unique space of upstream oil and gas, which is like a complex area. And Neeraj, over to you, please.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for the INSEAD alumni for giving me an opportunity to talk about Baker Hughes and a little bit also about what we are doing in India, because I am heading the subcontinent business of Baker Hughes. Julien, it was very, it was a very inspiring presentation, and I think for many companies, this is an aspirational goal that we're all trying to achieve, though our methods and our pathways to that goal may be slightly different. So, who are we? We are Baker Hughes, and if I were to summarize our mission statement, it would be that we take energy forward. And what that really means is that we strive to help our customers to deliver affordable energy to a very fast-growing base of international consumers using our technology, scalable, innovative solutions. But at the same time, we continually invent ways to make this process more efficient and reduce emissions. And we do this across a diverse range of sources of energy that today we need to meet the energy needs of the globe. Organizationally, we are structured into two segments. We have the OFSE segment, which is the Oilfield Services and Equipment segment, and we have the Industrial Energy Technology segment, which is the segment that transforms and transports the energy molecule to deliver that in the most efficient way to the end user. The OFSE division basically delivers upstream technology solutions to E&P players, onshore, shallow water, deep water environments in some of the most complex reservoirs and also some of the deepest horizons around the world. We deliver integrated well construction and production services to our customers while continually innovating to make sure that this resource is extracted in the most efficient way and at a lower cost to ensure that we continually become more efficient, and we also reduce the carbon footprint of existing operations within this space. On the IET side, we have the world's leading turbomachinery capability, equipment integrity monitoring, asset monitoring. We also have industrial equipment and zero emission valves that allow us to deliver these solutions to our customers that enable LNG, fertilizers, gas transmission, and refining, to name a few industries. Together, these two divisions constitute what we call an integrated full stream energy solutions approach to our customers that transcends multi-year energy cycles and delivers the value that is expected from our shareholders. Last year, we delivered, with 58,000 employees globally across 120 countries, orders of $30 billion, which was a significant improvement year on year. And we continue to improve our growth as we move along. Innovation is core to our business, and that's exemplified with our investment of almost $650 million last year in research and development, resulting in a grant of over 2,000 patents. Now, the notable part of our business here is that our new energy orders last year touched $750 million, which is a significant increase over the previous years. And these businesses comprise carbon capture and sequestration, hydrogen, geothermal, and carbon emissions abatement. When we talk a little bit about energy transition, a key aspect of our strategy is to recognize that over the next few decades, there will be a requirement for several forms of energy to meet the global aspiration of a lower carbon footprint, but also to meet the energy demands of the growing world economy. To this effect, we believe that gas shall play a pivotal role, not just as a transition fuel to this new cleaner source of energy, but also maybe as a destination fuel in the future energy basket. Some of you may already be aware that burning a 1 MMBTU, generating 1 MMBTU of energy from gas actually halves the footprint compared to the largest source of power today, which is coal. So we believe that this is going to drive a transition to a cleaner energy before we can get there to what maybe EDF is doing right now. There are over 1 billion people in this world today with no electricity, and another 1.5 billion people without regular electricity. And we believe that natural gas, which is abundantly available right now, will play an important role in lifting the world's developing nations and people out of poverty. Even in the most aggressive scenarios for reducing emissions, the world will continue to rely on oil and gas to meet its energy needs and also as a feedstock for the industry. Now, Baker Hughes has a very clear strategy on this, and we provide some of the most efficient and the lowest emission turbo machinery equipment to the LNG segment, which is growing, by the way, at a very fast rate worldwide. And we have nearly 65 plants operating or being constructed with PH technology at the core, and over 1,000 assets under long-term service contracts under remote monitoring. Now, when we talk about new energy solutions, we recognize 5 key vectors in this space, which are aligned to the solutions that we provide. These are hydrogen, geothermal, clean power and microgrids, CCUS, and emissions abatement. The breadth of our portfolio and along with our innovations and technology leadership in these specific areas makes us a great fit for these energy transition projects. And it's today the fastest growing segment within our organization, and it's expected to touch about $1 billion of orders imminently. And this is where we have to align with our customers and the market to change for the future. On hydrogen, we have a legacy of 100 years with our hydrogen compression capability. Our gas technology division continues to innovate in this space, and we've recently delivered what we believe may be a critical technology of the future, where hydrogen may actually enter the gas grid. Our modified Nova LT16 gas turbine has qualified to generate power from a blended stream of hydrogen and methane already. And you can blend hydrogen from 1% to 100%. And this prepares our customers for a possible pathway to energy transition in the future. We have a number of new technologies at various tier levels in development and have forged key partnerships in this market to drive momentum in this segment, including some really far-out technologies such as methane pyrolysis and the production of graphite. The complementary nature of the IET and the OFSE technologies, spanning the subsurface knowledge and consulting, geology, well construction, geomechanics, conditioning and liquefaction of carbon dioxide, along with the digital offerings and the ability to integrate all of this under one umbrella, gives us an unrivaled capability to bring CCUS projects to life faster. And we have the capability to separate the carbon dioxide, transport it, to pump it, sequester it, and make sure that that sequestration is done maintaining the integrity of the subsurface formation. Even selection of the sites where we have to sequester is actually done by Baker Hughes Gapney Klein Consulting. On the geothermal side, our ability to deliver hotter and deeper wells for hydrocarbon production allows us to segue smoothly into the geothermal space, where the access to the nearly limitless source of energy depends on our ability to do exactly that, drill deeper and hotter. Today, we can run subsurface reservoir engineering in parallel with topside turbine and plant design activities. And that's the capability that helps operators reduce their costs and shorten the development cycle and optimize plant design and bring geothermal faster to life. As a company that's founded on innovation and a broad portfolio that constantly needs to be updated and upgraded, we recognize that we have to widen our horizons and bet on a diverse range of technologies to drive future growth. To this end, we made a sizable investment of almost $2.1 billion in the past few years in acquisition, startups, and frontier technologies in TRL levels 4 to 7. Some of the bets, if successful, it'll have a potential to create new lines of business, but they'll also disrupt the older lines of business. But we believe that the bets for the new lines and the benefits of investing in these technologies in the future could outweigh the disruption that will be caused to the existing product lines. The Levedian technology, for instance, is a very contrarian view of doing things. They want to produce hydrogen and graphite from an abundant availability of methane throughout the world. So they have the promise to decarbonize the gas stream and create a robust hydrogen economy. Mosaic promises to make carbon capture commercially viable by bringing the cost of direct air capture down using state-of-the-art organometallic molecular chemistries. Net Power is a very elegant solution for power grids that is capable of producing a nearly pure form of CO2 with a patented oxycombustion technology that eliminates completely the separation step of carbon capture and reduces drastically the cost of carbon sequestration. These are just some of the examples that we are looking at. And we do not believe that there is any single technology today or a silver bullet that will get us to a point of carbon-free world. We'll have to use a combination of technologies in the local context to make sure that this decarbonization happens in the right way. So far, I've spoken a little bit about what Baker Hughes is and how we're looking at technology and how we're transiting into the new world. I'd just briefly like to talk about what we do in India and what is the India energy context and where we see some exciting activities happening beyond our regular business. So we are fairly large in India. We've got 2,700 employees. We are increasing our diversity. Our aspiration is to be a lot more diverse, but we are actively working on it. And we are present in 25 locations in the country. Our business last year was $250 million. We average anywhere between 300 to 400 million orders every year, depending on the activity. But what's significant is that we've actually increased our global outsourcing value to almost $350 million. We are a leading provider of oil and gas services in every basin in the country, and we are seeing significant and resilient growth within the country. I want to give you a brief overview of the India energy context, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but what I want to message I want to send here in this slide is that in the energy context, it is evident that India still lies in the third lowest quartile of energy consumption. And there is a clear correlation between energy consumption and the wealth, per capita wealth, that a country is able to generate. And we have and it's going to continue to follow an aspirational pathway to explore all forms of energy to realize that movement to the, to the Western world. And it's going to continue to increase energy demand, fulfill that demand with whichever energy source is available, and to improve the quality of life and create wealth for its people. Now, how are we doing it now? A significant amount of that energy today is being generated via coal. 70% of the power and about 30% of the total energy basket in India is generated from coal. We are still dependent in many areas for natural biomass, which is, of course, another polluting fuel. But we are also increasing our consumption of oil and gas and renewables. The access to renewable energy at a lower cost is a big priority for India, but there is also a focus on increasing other forms of energy for the next several decades to come. Now, this one thing that we all agree on is that this dependence on thermal power from coal is a big factor, not just in climate change, but also socio-economic and health impact for the nation. If you see that red area is generally the area where we have a majority of the year poor air quality, and in fact, very bad air quality. I mean, if you come to Delhi in winters, quite often you will not even be able to step out of the house without a mask. It's advised. It's actually dangerous to, medium-term life and health. It has actually got a very strong economic impact. And this is the area where almost 1 billion people stay. So there is an agreement on one fact that we need to provide more energy affordably, but we need to provide that energy while reducing emissions. And that is a mission that Baker Hughes takes very seriously. So apart from the new sources of energy in renewable, the expansion in wind, there is a focus by the government to increase its own gas production in the country, because gas is recognized as an important transition fuel. And to that effect, I'm very pleased to say that we are very actively engaged in this process. We are a key provider of technology solutions to the two largest gas projects in India, deepwater Krishna Godavari Basin. One is for ONGC, where we are providing the entire well-controlled and integrated umbilical solution for 34 wells, which is one of the largest projects that has been conducted in the world recently, as well as the association with Reliance and BP for the entire gas exploration and development and production in the Krishna Godavari Basin. Together, these two projects alone shall constitute about 40% of India's gas production, helping India to become more secure in its energy basket and more sustainable. Lastly, I just wanted to touch base on this, that the government in India has taken some key initiatives to drive new energy solutions for the nation via industry, government, business, and academia partnerships. Two notable early-stage initiatives that are being executed as we speak, including carbon capture feasibility in India and geothermal exploration. And I'm pleased to say that Baker Hughes has taken an active position in both these segments with our first Gaffney Klein subsurface CCUS consulting project for Oil India, and as a critical service provider for providing oil field services for the first geothermal well that is being drilled in Ladakh at 14,000 feet. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I will conclude my presentation, and I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to give you a snapshot of Baker Hughes and our footprint and our operations in India. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you so much for that, Neeraj. A very fascinating presentation and very educational to a lot of people, I guess. But I would request first Julien to react to that because I'm hoping that there is some collaboration between your great companies going forward.
No, I mean, as you said, and thanks for this presentation, it was very interesting. I'm not that familiar with the landscape in India, so it was really really interesting to me. But of course, we are, as you know, we are not in the E&P business, but we are of course a big gas player, mostly in Europe, and I'm sure there are potential for collaboration with Baker Hughes, of course.
Absolutely, sir. Yeah, and I just wanted to say that this, in the emerging space today, you don't know how a certain segment will evolve. We don't know how CCUS will evolve. Whether CCUS and carbon capture and hydrogen will evolve simultaneously. And it's not just about technology. It's about the context of that technology in the region. All of this has to make economic sense within a certain context. And I mean, the net power example that I was trying to give you, right? I mean, that's if that is combined with and that the aim of that technology is to say that we are going to produce carbon dioxide specifically for sequestration. So, these are areas where maybe, dialogues can be started at a global level between companies to say that can all of this be put together in a consortium to do that. If you notice the work that we did with the ONGC, in fact, there are 3 companies in that. It was a $1.5 billion project in which Baker Hughes, McDermott, and Larsen & Toubro, you may be familiar with these guys. They're one of the largest EPC companies in India. We all came together to execute a project in which each company had its own core technologies.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for that. We will, Alistair, do you have a question? Please go ahead.
Yes, I had a question. Neeraj, thank you again. A big thank you for your wonderful presentation, and of course, so it was a process of discovery for our participants, both in terms of a geography and a company and technology, and obviously a long list of questions that prompts. And my question is the following: you touched on diversity goals in one of your slides, and clearly that I think is a recognition that this isn't just about technology, this isn't just about money. Clearly, the sort of the social impacts of both the sort of the current pollution and global warming, of course, and rising temperatures obviously are enormous, but also and of course we're all faced with the massive dilemma of yes, but coal, for example, is still the cheapest source of heat or electricity. And I was curious to know whether you had any examples where, for example, you're promoting gas as a cleaner source of electricity. It's lower impact on global warming, but perhaps as importantly, less microparticles, less local pollution, if I understand the technology naively, from my perspective. And I wondered whether you had any examples of how you'd somehow address of course, this seems like a no-brainer. We should stop burning coal and we should burn more gas, of recognizing or explicitly doing something about, but what about all the people working in the coal mine or in the coal plant, the actual social impact of the people who would be or are affected by a transition away from coal? Do you do you have any examples where you've bought a coal plant and you've transitioned the employees, for example?
No, Alistair, so look, that would not be our mandate, because we align our technologies to our customers. We are a B2B company. So, for example, if Shell or BP were to come here and go to an area where there is, a coal belt, for example, right? and they were to start producing a cleaner form of energy, then our technologies would enable them to do that in a more cost-effective and an efficient way. Now, I do have an example where our technology does play a role. So there's a place called Shadol in Madhya Pradesh, which is like central India. It's on the fringes of what is known as the Deccan Trap. It's like the Deccan Plateau is basically a volcanic rock that has trapped a lot of sediments underneath, and it's trapped a lot of coal below it. And on the fringes of that is a very prolific area where you can produce what is known as coal-based methane gas from the coal seams, right? And what we have done, and now in order to produce that coal seam, you have to create a fairly large footprint, not as much as a coal mining footprint, but a drilling footprint on multiple sites, right? Now, Baker Hughes is a leader in what is known as horizontal directional drilling. Yeah. And what we've done is that from a single site today, we can access almost 6,000 meters, which is 6 kilometers of coal seam from a single well location, which is like a little napkin in the middle of a environmentally sensitive zone. Also, using this technology, we've actually eliminated what is known as hydrofracking, which requires a lot of water and has a fairly large economic impact. And that water has to be then dewatered and evaporated, and you got to have water pits. We've completely eliminated that hydrofracking step. We have lowered the cost. We've lowered the land footprint. It's not just about carbon; it's also about your physical footprint on the ground. And we've enabled them to produce a cleaner form of energy in the same area where maybe there is mining, and creating jobs for the locals. Because look, there is an unlimited demand for gas. So if you do that, if you can scale up a technology like that, then you can create jobs in that local area. So now we're talking about drilling hundreds of wells there. The second one, Alistair, is that we are currently having some fairly, advanced discussions to run a pilot for carbon sequestration within coal seams. Because, coal seams have a high absorption capacity for not just methane, but also for carbon dioxide. And that can also be used as a form of enhancing methane production while sequestering carbon dioxide. So these are early stage research and development, and maybe, conceptualizing new ways of, decarbonization. But certainly it does maybe, tick multiple boxes in that energy transition story and a socioeconomic story as well. I hope that answers your question. I'm not sure if you.
Sure, thank you for that, Neeraj. Let's just stay on this exploration production. I mean, I typed in the question in the meantime. There was a recent announcement by the ministry about expanding the acreage in India. So would you like to comment on that? And secondly, in terms of the competition, how do you see the other great companies in the E&P space, OFS in particular, like Schlumberger, Halliburton, McDermott, and so on, not only India, but globally? That's the first question. And second, in terms of this global energy majors expanding into India, in particular, given this new announcement by the ministry, because in the BCC of this discussion, we also have the Total Energies country head, your counterpart, Sang Ratnam, who is aware of our discussion, and so is the executive committee members at Total.
Sure. I'll try to be. I'll let the rest of the panelists also speak. But what I'll say is that look, our business is about risk and boldness. When you have to invest a sizable amount of money upfront in capital expenditure before you get a success. And the government is trying to encourage that kind of investment with global oil majors to come into India. And I think there has been a reform in policies and simplification of the laws to encourage that. We still see a lot of investment with the public sector companies, like our biggest customers is ONGC, Oil India. We also have some private companies like Reliance, British Petroleum, Cairn, Vedanta. They're all making very sizable investments and having some successes. But it's a process of discovery and a persistent exploration and a strategic exploration program that has to be aligned with these international oil companies' portfolios, because they've got lots of countries to go to. They could go to Guyana, they could go to Senegal, they could go to Angola, and so we have to compete for capital in India with some of the other opportunities that may be available elsewhere. But certainly the Indian government is doing a great job in promoting the business here, and hopefully we will see more and more investments keep coming into India. The second question is, I think all the major companies are in India, right? And we are all very actively engaged, and we all have long histories within the country. A lot of the companies are looking at India for talent. Like if you see Chevron's announcement right now, they are going to invest $1 billion in developing their global center in Bangalore. Shell's done the same, British Petroleum's done the same, and Exxon has got one of the largest centers in India. So I think, apart from just, the India business, India is also becoming a hub for technology innovation, engineering, and sourcing and manufacturing with the changing geopolitical scenario. And that's we're seeing in our industry as well.
Got that. The next set of questions, I would, we see that we have a great group. And then Rashmi Agarwal, is it Rashmi? She is the Director for M&A in Energie, and that's the huge giant as well. She's in the room. If you'd like to speak up, Rashmi, or am I meeting the wrong person?
Hi, Venkat. I'm not sure if you're here, if you guys can hear me.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So very interesting discussion, everyone. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm working in M&A in Energie, and when I hear everything that you've been saying, it's really interesting because a lot of things resonate with what we do, especially when Julien started with EDF Ventures. We do have in Energie a corporate ventures team, and that exactly, and we do compete on some of the investments that you have been making, Julien. So it was quite interesting to see some of those investments that you've made, which were like very close to what we would have liked to make. So that's really interesting. But to be coming back to the topic that Neeraj was talking about, you do know that in Energie we are not present in India in a big way. We've been trying, but India is a difficult market, and also the multinationals who are present in India are aware of that fact very well. And combined with that, I think it is also quite a challenge to be able to invest in India, knowing that the costs, that when you are a European multinational, it's very difficult, not just in India, but also in Asia, to compete with those costs and with that set of agility and flexibility and the risks that you can take. It's quite challenging given the corporate social governance norms that you have to follow. And so it's quite interesting when we see other companies, what they're doing in India, and to be able to copy their model. But of course, kudos to everyone who's been doing it well, but we know it cannot be done without a good partnership, local partnership in India. Well, not sure if you have any other questions.
Actually, I wanted to ask Julien that question that is there in this chat. Julien, I wanted to understand what's your perception of nuclear power. Because the only thing I know is that we've been struggling to get, the right kind of agreements and protections and the access to setting up nuclear plants. What is your view on India, and what are the things that we can do better to really bring that growth that we're seeing elsewhere?
I mean, I won't really be able to comment on the Indian situation because I'm no expert, so that I don't want to say anything that won't be really on point. But I think we are all facing, I mean, globally, the same challenges regarding nuclear. The first one are regulatory hurdles. I mean, the regulatory framework for nuclear is always, and it's true, I mean, in every country that wants to build nuclear plants or already have nuclear plants, it's really, the regulatory framework is really stringent, and it's quite difficult to adapt it to new ways of doing nuclear. And by that, I can speak about EPRs, which is our technology for ADF, but also SMRs, so small modular reactors, and fourth generation reactors, etc. So there's from a regulatory standpoint, it's always difficult to ensure that the views of the local authorities, etc., are aligning with the innovation and evolution of nuclear, because there's a lot of innovation actually now in nuclear. There's also the public perception, of course, because in some countries, and we see that, for example, in Europe, there's a significant public opposition to nuclear in Germany, for example, or it was the case in Italy until recently. So driven by safety concerns and maybe historical incidents like Chernobyl and Fukushima. So the public perception is also plays quite a big part on this, and we need to work on this perception. But I mean, in some cases or in some country, and there's actually lots of countries that wants to build new nuclear, and it's true in India, it's true in Europe, and regarding coal plants, as we discussed previously, in the US, for example, the US authorities saw SMRs, so small modular reactor, as a nice way to phase out coal and to build new power plants to replace those coal plants directly by nuclear. So, I mean, there's not one solution, as you say. There's really a bouquet of solutions from geographies to geographies. But of course, there are challenges for nuclear. I would add that, of course, there's an economic factor as well, because we can hide that there's a high initial cost to build nuclear plants, and it's not. It's always a difficult political decision to invest those kind of money for a very long term. I mean, you know that nuclear plants are built to withstand the stand of time for at least 60 years. We can see that in the US it's 80 years. So that's, I mean, that's, we are all facing the same challenges regarding nuclear, but nuclear is developing actually. There's more and more nuclear projects across the world.
Sure, absolutely, Julien. On that, just a follow-up question. I mean, there is this conversion of coal-fired power plants to when they are losing out their economic life to a nuclear asset. This was advised, as you know, by Vakis Ramani a couple of years back as well, and you work closely with him. So the question I have is that, I mean, of course, India gets 60%, and Poland and China and so on. Which are the live examples which have actually gone live in terms of conversion? Because I remember reading a project in Romania sponsored by the US Department of Energy.
Yes, the project in Romania, but the first one on the US territory actually should be by TerraPower, which is a company backed by Bill Gates, the world famous Bill Gates, and they plan to start groundwork and construction by 2050, I think. No, sorry, 25. So next year, and this will be the first, probably the first one in Europe. But they are, as you said, as you mentioned, working on a project in Romania. That's true. So we have yet to see the first SMR started, but groundwork will start in 25 in the US, for example.
Sure, yeah, got that, and that's the feedback we received. It's like a 30-year. I mean, it's a long horizon projects, and convincing the ministries to go there is the challenge. The next question, Ala is the Ala. Go ahead, please.
Yes, talking about SMR, why is it not developing in Europe faster? I mean, the investment costs for a large project are huge. SMR is a cost solution. And what do you think about SFR solution as a backup to the SMR approach? I mean, Phoenix has not been a success in France. Can you develop a little bit about the sodium cooling system mix associated with SMR power plant?
Yeah. Just to try to answer your first question, let me try to share the window, because I think this will be easier just to comment. I don't know if you can see my my screen, but here, yes, you can see how electricity is traded live. This is yesterday's figures, actually, in France. And this will illustrate why there is not many SMR projects in Europe right now. Here you can see that yesterday EDF, France, but it's EDF, exported like it must be like 11 or 12 gigawatts in the morning throughout Europe. We were exporting to the UK, to Spain, to Italy, to Switzerland, to Germany, to Belgium. So in a way, the way the system works in Europe is that EDF, France, is providing much of the electricity for the safety of the system. And so those countries are relying on France to provide them electricity through the nuclear fleet, the existing nuclear fleet. So in a way, and sorry, I mean, I'm saying that to be a bit provocative, but they don't need SMRs because they have EDF, they have power plants to help them manage their electricity grid and electricity system. So we don't have lots of those projects now because we have those big plants, and we will build more of them because, as you may know, we have projects in France to build 6 more big EPRs in the foreseeable future. So there are really no needs for electricity generation. But SMRs are not only for electricity generation. There are lots of projects actually across Europe for non-electric SMR generating heat, for example, for industrial processes. And this is where we think this is something quite interesting for some processes. For example, you can imagine like on an airport, you will have your own SMR to help produce e-fuels for the planes. And the idea here is to help with SMRs with an industrial process that will decarbonize or help decarbonize an industry. So the SMRs can have lots of applications. And I think we will see quite a few of those across Europe, but not for the traditional electricity generation that we can envision. And I may add that there are a lot of innovative SMR companies working to develop new kinds of technologies for SMR. In France, of course, we have 3. There's 1 in Italy, there's 2 in the UK. So there's a quite vigorous ecosystem around SMRs, but as you said, we don't see lots of projects in Europe because we don't need those, to be perfectly honest. About sodium-cooled fast reactors, Phoenix, as you mentioned. Actually, I was not at EDF in the energy sector when Super Phoenix, which is the French name for our project, was stopped, and it was really stopped only for political and it was by ideology, if I can say. So it was not a concern about the technology or cost. And we see that a few projects are trying to revive those sodium-cooled fast reactors, but those kind of reactors are very complex, very expensive to build and to maintain compared to the more traditional light water reactors, and they pose some significant risks, some significant safety risks. So for the time being, we are not actively exploring those kind of technologies, but some startups are working to revive the SFR technology. I hope it answers your questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's I mean, that's solid advice, Julien. And just to keep you informed, I mean, in the copy of our great speakers, we have one person by name Ravi Venkatesan, whose former boss is like Bill Gates, if you like. So it's like it's that's the quality, and he's also the alumnus of Neeraj, whom he knows. So that's the I mean, that's the connects of this fantastic forum created by Alistair. So yeah, back on the discussion, Vivek.
Thanks. No, very interesting insights, gentlemen. Thank you so much. My question is more about renewable energy. I'm quite fascinated by the new wave of growth of renewable energy in bulk of Europe. I know it's driven. It was at least stated to be driven through because of the war, etc., and wanting to sort of curb the energy prices. But when I look at the proportion of the grid, and in India, we are not, we are still solar plus wind is not even about 15% or so. And even now, everybody talks about the duck curve and the impact that we are going to come up against. And I see Europe still plowing ahead. Just thoughts for both of you on the panel. How, what's driving this in Europe? And more importantly, therefore, what do you see India to take on something like this going forward, especially because we definitely need to dephase 70% of thermal that we still have due to the air quality issues, etc. Neeraj, you spoke about.
I'll maybe let Julien talk a little bit first. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I will start that. I mean, just one word: regulation. In Europe, and we love regulation in Europe. So sometimes it works against us and against the development of the economy, but sometimes it works really well to develop those new sectors, because there's really we are, I think, a very ecologically conscious continent. And so there's something called Fit for 54, which is the ecological packet of laws and regulation that is developed by the European Commission that incentivize really hard the different countries, part of Europe, of the European Union, to develop renewables, and these days mostly solar, because there's an offshore wind. I might add. So it's really about regulation, and regulation has created a viable market in Europe, and I may say more than a viable market, a very profitable market. The next, I mean, for the previous 5 to 7 years, it will probably get a little bit more difficult because there's less money to invest actually, but for these days. But I mean, it was really, I think, about regulation.
So regulation plus incentive. Sorry,
yeah.
When you mean regulation, it's regulation plus incentive. Yeah,
exactly.
Which traditionally, at least in India, we've seen to be a big challenge, in the sense that typically governments would want to use their balance sheet to prioritize their GDP growth. Personally, I believe this is very strategic and they should invest in it, but that's not been the case, and it's been more about market forces taking over in this front in India. Neeraj, thoughts what India should be learning and doing differently from this story?
See, I think this is a very it's a very strong social aspect to this answer, right? Maybe even political, right? Why we don't have regulations and why we have, what will be the social impact? And you can actually debate this with if you put 3 different people from different streams in here, we'll have a debate for the rest of the day. But I think where we stand on a common ground is that this is where technology plays a role. if you can find ways of, decarbonizing and producing energy more cheaply, the market will take care of it. It'll be instructive to see an interview with Vinod Khosla from Khosla Ventures, right? And what he says is that he's making some big bets right now. And he says that the chances that, he's got like 6 or 7 investments, right? He's one of the pioneering investors, right? His chances of that, he doesn't want regulation to drive the energy transition. He believes that technology should make sense within the regulatory framework and the economic, socio-economic framework to make sense. Because the market is going to determine whether something will happen or not. Because regulations can go so far, and after that you ask who's going to pay for it. So one of the bets he's actually got is he's invested in a company in nuclear fusion, and he expects that might fail. There is another company closer to us. What we do is a company, you can look at it. It's called Quaise Energy, Quaise, Quaise Energy, funded out of MIT. And what they're doing is they are trying to use some sort of a nuclear technology, which is basically a very millimeter rays, some sort of very specific wavelength of radiation to burn the rock instead of drilling it. Right? It's like almost cutting the rock with a laser, right? It's like science fiction. And they've actually got funding from some of the high-tech Silicon Valley investors, because the technology shall transcend socioeconomic limitations and regulatory limitations. And that's the way I think the world has to think and invest and continue to grow.
Thank you.
Right, got that for the solid advice, Neeraj. I mean, we have another few minutes. I would just open up the forum to other great people here. So Olivia is from the World Economic Forum, the Center for Energy and Climate. Right, Olivia, if you're listening to us?
Hello, everyone. Yes, exactly. I'm from the World Economic Forum, working with the Center for Energy and Materials. So thanks for, been following the discussion, though. It's a lot of the similar kind of topics that we're looking to at the forum, especially related to, how to address the 3 aspects of kind of security, affordability, and sustainability all at the same time. So thanks a lot for the discussion.
Yeah, in fact, I'll take this opportunity, Olivia, that the World Economic Forum speaks the next time or in the near term with the head of the energy and climate, and that will be a fascinating loop for everybody to loop back in. Right, got that.
Yes, yes, we'd be very happy to. Yeah, no, absolutely. We're happy to engage in the next discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, because obviously that's the mecca of business, and I believe you guys have got this energy transition index where you rank all the countries and the technologies across the globe and the most competitive ones, and that'll be very fascinating to know that to the INSEAD alumni. Right, got that.
Can I just jump in and just ask another very quick question? It's really Julien, for Julien, just picking up on your comment a few minutes ago about the future plans for the EPR in France. I wondered if you could actually just share, to the extent that it's not a secret or just undecided, what actually is the current status of the future EPR projects? Are they is it still a maybe?
For us, it's not a maybe in the sense that the French government asked us to work and to do all the preparation and the regulatory and technological work to start designing those EPR2s, because it will be the second generation of EPR. So they ordered us to work on the 6 plants I mentioned that will be phased, of course, in the next 20, built hopefully in the next 20 20 years. So we are working on the final design as we speak, and we are envisioning the end of this on this work on design like at the end of this year. And when we will have a stable government in France, as you may know, we are still waiting for a prime minister to be appointed. We will start working on the finance side of those projects, how to finance those new plants with the government. So this is very much underway. We are working a lot on it. For us, it's really something we are looking forward. So we are really full steam ahead on those. But we are of course waiting for the final investment decision from the government, from the French government, when they will be ready to do this.
I mean, some people have described Flamanville as a prototype, and of course, prototypes, cost a lot more than production models rolling off a production line.
It's a first of a kind. That's very true.
But just in a sort of order of magnitude, I mean, I'm not sure how different your sort of new design is to the Flamanville and the Finland sort of the design, but presumably it's not that different. It's drawing on the lessons that you've learned. But just in terms of order of magnitude, how much cheaper are each of the 6 future EPRs going to be compared to Flamanville?
Oh, I can't comment exactly on specific figures about that, but our goal is to build the next EPR2s in roughly 70 months.
Okay.
So and as you know, of course, time is money. So if you can build those in a very constrained time frame, you make lots of savings. So that's the goal, the public goal. We already said that, but I can't comment really on what target we are really reaching for from a cost basis. What I can comment on is that, of course, we started the EPR in Flamanville in France yesterday, as I mentioned, but we are already hard at work in the UK on the Hinkley Point EPR plant. We have plans for a second generation plant in Sizewell. We built with our Chinese partners a power plant, a nuclear power plant, an EPR in Taishan in China. There's a plant in Finland. So we have gathered lots of experience around this design, the EPR design, and EPR2 is meant to be a simplified design. So we are quite confident that we will be able to build those fastly and in a more cost-effective way.
It's interesting. Somebody once was talking about electric cars and said it would be more accurate to describe if you're driving an electric car in Poland, you're driving a coal car, and if you're driving an electric car in France, you're driving a nuclear car.
Yeah, that's very true, actually.
Well, just from my part, again, to Neeraj and to Julien, a very, very big thank you. Again, I was played more than a passive role in the organization of today, but it's really been a privilege and an honor and of great interest to hear your thoughts and plans. And I'm a techno-optimist. I'm a great believer that business model and technology breakthroughs are gonna save us despite everything. So it's always very cheering, to hear great people like you, clearly who are the making these technologies and these changes happen in your respective roles. So again, a big thanks. Thanks for the time and effort that you've put in for today, but thanks also for your ongoing contribution to resolving these major challenges.